As a person with a very deep voice, I'm hired all the time for advertising campaigns. But a deep voice doesn't sell B2B, and advertising on the wrong platform doesn't sell B2B either. That's why if you're a B2B marketer, you should use LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has the targeting capabilities to help you reach the world's largest professional audience. That's right, over 70 million decision makers all in one place. All the big wigs, then medium wigs, also small wigs who are on the path to becoming big wigs. Okay, that's enough about wigs. LinkedIn ads allows you to focus on getting your B2B message to the right people. So, does that mean you should use ads on LinkedIn instead of hiring me, the man with the deepest voice in the world? Yes. Yes, it does. Get started today and see why LinkedIn is the place to be to be. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. I am your host, as always, for more than 200 episodes. Seth, today I am here with Ben of Rocket.net. They are my host of choice. They are amazing. I'm not just saying that because he's on here on the podcast and all that, but no, they're really fantastic. Ben is the CEO, chief bottle washer, founder of Rocket.net. He has done all kinds of stuff in his short time on Earth, making him sound younger than he probably is. But Rocket.net is a WordPress optimized host. They are fantastic. I mean, they are fast, zippy. The response is fast and zippy on their support calls when you have an issue, which doesn't happen very often. And the best part is Ben jumps in every once in a while. The CEO jumps in and answers the support questions. I'm like, oh, hi. How's it going? So how's it going, Ben? How you doing?
Good. Thanks, Seth. Doing great. Really appreciate that heck of an intro. And as always, appreciate your support in business. You know, we've been doing this about 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
And we're heavily, invested into the WordPress community and our customers. I mean, that's where we met, right? We met at WordCamp US. I think I needed a phone charger, and we just happened to start.
You need a phone charger. We were in the lobby.
Yeah.
And you need a phone charger, and we just started chatting. And I was looking to get off another host because they're bought out, and we're going to leave who they are alone. Those who know me know who it is, but they're bought out by a bigger conglomerate. The personal touch wasn't there, and Ben's like, "Well, I answer a support call messages." I'm like, well, that sounds good. Mm-hmm. So literally we started out with, I said, I'll move 3 sites over to you. Within like 3 days, I moved all my sites over to you. I was like, this is great. Let's just go. Let's get this over here. So yeah, I mean, migrating sites is never fun, but guess what? They helped me move everything, which is very helpful. So I really appreciate that as well. So how did this whole thing get started? I mean, you've been an entrepreneur for a while now. You had, I'm looking at your LinkedIn right now. You had help.com. You were a fan of help.com, easyrent.com. You did work for GoDaddy way back in the day, and HostGator. So it's like, this is not your HostNine. So this is not your first rodeo when it comes to hosting.
Sure.
So how did all this get started?
Yeah. So, I started out in hosting in the early 2000s. I just fell into it. I was delivering pizza at the time, and a friend of mine on IRC was like, oh, I sell web hosting and make like $1,200 a month. I'm like, that sounds incredible. So
they're in pizza delivery.
Yeah. And, I got my first server. I think it was cPanel version 4 back then. Oh, and, the rest was kind of history. I started a little company, and then I realized this huge, company, HostGator, was right down the street from me in Boca in South Florida. So I actually ended up just kind of merging that little company in and worked for HostGator for a while, saw some early scale. And when they decided to move to Houston, I wanted to stay back in Florida. I had just turned 21. So I just didn't really want to leave the nest yet, So, I basically started HostNine, completely bootstrapped it out of my parents' house. And
I'm sure they love that.
Oh, yeah. No, it was great. Luckily, HostNine took off and I was out of there pretty quickly. But,
That's
I
good.
built the business to probably, I think it was around 1.6 million, 1.8 million in annualized revenue, and I sold it to HostGator in 2010. And I
Yeah, you
took
remember you
on
COO.
COO
Yeah.
at HostGator. And then when I realized Brent wanted to sell the business, I didn't really want to kind of stay on board. I wanted to take a break. I'd been grinding for 4.5 years with HostNine.
Yeah.
So I took some time off, moved back to Florida because at the time I was in Austin, Texas. And
Oh,
I
that's a
did
fun
some
town.
consulting work for a couple different hosting companies. I got bored pretty quickly. And then GoDaddy reached out. And, probably not the most popular name in the hosting space, especially back in
Oh yeah.
2013. But they wanted to change that. They hired a whole new
Yeah.
team, and I was the second round of hires ever outside of inside of GoDaddy. So GoDaddy would
Oh
only
wow.
promote within. Yeah, like if you didn't start in the call center, you weren't working at GoDaddy. It was really interesting. So, I took on a senior product manager
Yeah.
role. We relaunched every single product at GoDaddy in the hosting space. That's when we launched
Oh, I remember
cPanel.
that.
That's when
Yeah,
we
I remember
launched
that. Yeah.
Managed WordPress and all that fun stuff. And then, similar to what Strabel from Pagely is saying, corporate was a little too corporate for me. So I left HostGator or GoDaddy, sorry, and did a couple little startups here and there, and
Yeah.
then took on a chief product officer role at StackPath, and that's actually where I started learning about CDN and delivery at scale and the web application firewall at scale. And one of the companies we bought was a very popular company in the WordPress space, which was Max CDN.
I
And
remember them. Yeah.
what I saw was a lot of these WordPress users, we were churning at like 94% because nobody could figure out how to properly use the CDN. And, we're going through this evolution of content where Netflix and Hulu and all these things are starting to come up.
Mhm.
And if Netflix is spinning for 2 seconds, you're like, all right, Netflix is down because you're used to it being
Yeah.
immediately available. So the same thing happens to websites. So, when I saw that,
Mhm.
I kind of pitched this idea to the board at StackPath, and they were like, "Ah, that's cute. We'd rather go after Disney." And funny enough, Disney's a customer of Rockets, but
I love
they didn't see the value in it, and they were so focused on enterprise delivery. So
it.
I left StackPath and I launched Rocket, and completely bootstrapped the business. Almost took
Yeah.
an investment on, but decided not to. We saw some incredible growth, so I still own 100% of the company. We finished last year just under 5 million in ARR, and
Not bad for 3 years in.
no,
That's really
not
good.
no. It's been great. I mean, we had 160% growth rate year over year. Operated at 50% EBITDA, so it's a very healthy business. And
Yeah.
we have some really amazing things we're doing this year to reinvest that capital
Ooh.
into the community, right? So
Yeah.
we have some exciting announcements in the next 8 weeks or so. Some really big products we're working on. But
Ooh.
we're just really excited. For me, our strategy for growth in 2024 is really just supporting our customers as best as we possibly can, and
And
then
you did a good job of that. Yeah.
viewing the communities. Like WordCamps. We're actually at WordCamp Nepal. We have two team members that are core contributors that went to that. Tons
Oh
of
wow, that's a heck of a trip.
oh,
We're gonna take a quick break here from our.
As a person with a very deep voice, I'm hired all the time for advertising campaigns. But a deep voice doesn't sell B2B, and advertising on the wrong platform doesn't sell B2B either. That's why if you're a B2B marketer, you should use LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has the targeting capabilities to help you reach the world's largest professional audience. That's right, over 70 million decision makers all in one place. All the big wigs, then medium wigs, also small wigs who are on the path to becoming big wigs. Okay, that's enough about wigs. LinkedIn ads allows you to focus on getting your B2B message to the right people. So, does that mean you should use ads on LinkedIn instead of hiring me, the man with the deepest voice in the world? Yes. Yes, it does. Get started today and see why LinkedIn is the place to be to be. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Sponsors and get right back to the show.
yeah. They then they're heading to WordCamp Asia. We'll be
Well,
at
you're out, so you might as well stay there.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah. So we'll be at WordCamp Asia. We'll be at WordCamp US, of course. We're sponsoring WordCamp Phoenix. So we're trying
yeah.
to sponsor as many community events as possible, even if it's just lunch, even if it's providing some kind of, value back to the community. We have competitors that are, 10 times the size of us that don't even contribute a single minute to core, right? And
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
it's just
Yeah.
a huge part of what we're doing at Rocket. We're even going to start incentivizing some of our staff to, be part of the core contributing team at WordPress. So, a lot of really
Yeah.
exciting stuff. But, I think, I did a podcast last week at the very beginning of the new year, and what we really focused on, I'm on WP Product Talk to discuss as well, is really not losing sight of the customer, right? Like you,
Yeah.
Seth, right? Like I don't mind jumping in and helping Seth. It
I
doesn't
love it.
matter what day. You can email me, you message me on Slack, on post status, doesn't matter. I'm there. I'm never,
Yeah.
I'm
I
never
also
not
send you
one
some
to
pretty
help.
weird ones. I also send you some pretty weird ones too. Like,
But we love
what
a
was
good
the last one?
challenge,
What was it? What was it? It was a space
Yep.
on Gotta love PHP when it's a space.
Yep.
It screws something up. And Ben's like, it's right here.
Yep.
I'm like, God bless you. I would never found that.
Yeah, plug in basically trying to read a invalidated
What was
time
that?
zone, and it had a space in
Oh
the time zone.
yeah.
So something that just
Oh,
kind
that
of,
was a
when
nightmare.
we're at about 30,000 WordPress sites, and because of the market we're in, we see a lot of the busier slash enterprise sites on the platform. So you'd be surprised what we see, and you learn the critical path to debug. The beauty of us just focusing on WordPress is debugging
Mm-hmm.
WordPress is typically the same steps. It's not a
Yeah.
different system that you have to learn and keep track of. So it's been exciting.
Yeah.
I really attribute a lot of our growth to the team, and just how, they share the same passion as me for customer
Oh,
success.
your team is amazing. I mean, and they get back to you. I mean, they're like, "Oh, we'll get back to you within an hour." No, they're back to you in like 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes, and the 5 minutes is actually long for them.
Yep.
I mean, and sometimes like it's too long for Ben, and Ben jumps right in. He's like, I'm digging this one." So I always appreciate it because I like knowing who is running the show, and I appreciate you are a small business. I mean, as much as you take on the big dogs or handling like Disney and other projects like that, you are a small business, and I like the small and nimble companies to deal with.
So I'd agree to that, because it's defining the small business, I think, is an operational
Yeah,
blueprint slash outline, right? So when you define a
yeah, it's a
business,
mentality. Yeah,
correct, right? So we have full test coverage on our APIs. Our React portal was written by the guy that wrote Visa Checkout. We've got all of these enterprise grade traits at the business, but we don't have the politics and let's run the business like a spreadsheet. My goal is not to have 100 people at Rocket, right? Like we grew by over 160% in 2023, and we added 5 heads. That's it.
Wow.
And like that's not
But efficiency. It's just being efficient with your
exactly.
time.
And we are not stressing our team out. If the team was stressed out, we would have hired 10 if we had to. But with the tooling that we have and the platform that we've built, we're able to effectively service the need of the customer, whether we're in support or not. It's usually an inbound of migrations and help getting on the platform. And then from there, it's usually just some of our customers spend thousands of dollars a month. We haven't talked to them in a year and a half.
I know. And then there's Seth, who you hear from on a weekly basis. What did I do?
No
What did
problem,
I
though.
do?
That's what we're here for, and we enjoy it. But more importantly, what I love, hosting can be tricky, right? Over the years, I've seen customers that are not pleasant to work with, right? So when the team sees Seth right in, nobody's thinking like, oh, we just talked to Seth. It's like, cool, it's Seth again, right? And everybody's just excited, because our customers are just amazing. And it's like a breath of fresh air for the team that we've hired that has been in hosting for so long. Like Ryan was at A2 hosting for I think it was 5 or 6 years, and there's nothing wrong with A2. It's just he saw a much different persona than what we see at Rocket.
Yeah, because you get who you aim for your what's the term? I literally just lost the term, but your value proposition, your people you're going for is higher caliber. Just trying to go. It's not a race to the bottom. It's like, this is what we provide. This is our price. We'll work with you if we have to, but like, this is what the caliber we're looking for our customers. You almost interviewed me as much as I interviewed you.
And it's like the humanity, right? Like we want people to treat us the way that they want to be treated, right? So when somebody comes in chat and they're flying off the handle, and it's just like, wow, like we haven't even gotten 2 words in yet, but it's just, usually it's almost like a beat dog syndrome. Like from some of the bad support experiences in the past, it's like, hey, like that's not us, right? Like we are real people.
Yeah.
And like one of the compliments, I think it was even you on our last call that you had said it's always a breath of fresh air to recognize Darcy in chat or Maria. You
Yeah.
recognize, right? And it doesn't mean we're a tiny company. It means we're,
Personable.
right. We're personable. We actually have the humanity side of the business, but we're a very well optimized,
Yeah.
company that, is able to keep that face to name along with growth. Like what company goes from, a little under 2 million a year in revenue to almost 5 million in 1 year, but you're still
Yeah.
maintaining that same strategy and approach.
You're doing something right. So here's a question for you. Because you've done corporate-ish, and then you've done corporate, and then you've also done your own thing. What's the best thing about being an entrepreneur in your mind?
So I think the best thing about being an entrepreneur is you're changing you're changing the world, whether it's at a mass scale or a little scale, right? So like what Rocket has done has changed the world for all of our customers, right? And
Yeah.
it's the speed, it's the security, and it's just the overall experience of working with WordPress. So, I
Yeah.
think one of the coolest things about being an entrepreneur is you're doing something. Yes, everybody works to make money, but a real entrepreneur is also doing something that has a purpose because
Mhm.
otherwise not everybody wants to be involved with snake oil and crazy
No.
sales stuff, right? This is a real solution and you're able to make an impact because you are solving problems for other people.
Amen. So on the flip side, what keeps you up at night? Or do you sleep like a baby?
No, I don't. What keeps me up at night is server reliability,
Oh,
uptime.
yeah.
Things have changed in the last 10 years, right? People expect
Mhm.
100% uptime. Unfortunately, that's not realistic. I don't care if you're Google, Amazon, doesn't
But
matter.
definitely not Amazon. Definitely not
Right.
Amazon, because literally when Amazon goes down on the East Coast, the whole internet goes down.
Right. So what we've implemented, and we haven't posted about it yet, but we're going to talk about it probably
Mhm.
next week, is behind the scenes, we actually have disaster recovery back snapshots taking place every 5 hours, right?
Oh, wow.
So we still have hourly backups that are, or I'm sorry, daily backups that are customer
Yeah.
facing. That hasn't changed at all. But what we've created is an actual 5 hour snapshot of every, VM running on our private cloud. God forbid something happens, let's say a data center catches fire or there was just a disk failure, right? The
Yeah.
maximum exposure right now is 5 hours. And it takes us about two
Yeah.
hours to restore a full 1.2 terabytes, right? Not
That's
bad
not
at
bad at
all.
all.
No.
That's pretty fast.
Now, where it gets really exciting is in the next couple of weeks, we're actually going to move it even further and do 1 hour snapshots. And it's
Oh
completely
my god.
unnoticeable to the workload. It happens at the block level, and it's something that nobody else in the world is doing. And quite honestly, if we had a failure, we would have two work streams. Some of our engineers would focus on fixing it, and then we would have another engineer doing a restore. Because at that point, we're sub 1 hour, difference on the data integrity, right?
Yeah,
That's
most
like
people are not updating every hour, and if they are, they can survive.
correct.
Even 5 hours, you can survive. You can most likely go back to your Google Doc and grab it and throw it back in real fast.
Exactly. So, that's the
Like,
main thing that keeps me up at night. In the very beginning, it was scaling support, but our team has
yeah,
just been so
that's
incredible.
spot on.
And,
Yeah,
like I don't lose any sleep over our support. It's just amazing. Same with, Chad, like on our sales side. In the very
yeah.
beginning, I was obviously doing all the sales stuff, but I don't have to anymore because
He's so
he's
jolly.
incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's
That's
great.
awesome.
So,
He's
it's
great.
that's what keeps me up at night. And then constantly, and I guess at the end of it, really is just all of that bubbles back to the customer success, right? Like we host some very,
Mhm.
very large websites that are responsible for putting food on people's tables, including you.
Yeah.
So that's not something we take lightly, and we're very appreciative of the trust every day. And I think that's what keeps our support where it is because we all just truly do care about our customers' businesses, and
I love that.
that's
Yeah.
I remember when
That's what got me to move.
we first got Hannity.com on board. I'm not political or anything, but it was a very big win for us. And I
Yeah.
remember that night not sleeping. My wife's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "What if something happens?" She's like, "It's gonna be fine." I'm like, "What if something happens?" You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
what
And
if? You don't know.
yeah,
Accidents happen all the
so we've
time.
come a long
Exactly.
way 3 years since that day. But yeah, it's definitely the customer, and I think that's super
Yeah.
important because it should keep you up at night. because there's a lot of our competitors that it doesn't. And,
I've had an unnamed host lose my site completely before. Like, how do you lose a site? Like, no backups, no nothing. How does that happen?
yeah.
It does.
Well, the best,
It's ridiculous.
the best part is we've seen that at other customers have that too. We're not perfect. We've had to roll back to a backup in some cases. Like, it happens. It's part of the business, but we're also using a using a completely separate system for the disaster recovery backups. So we have all of our daily backups going to an S3 bucket, Wasabi, right, through a different system. And then we've got another cloud product called Acronis that's doing our snapshots every couple of hours now, going to their storage. So we now have data encrypted in 3 places: on the server, in object storage, and on this backup cloud.
That's what you're supposed to do with all your stuff. You're supposed to keep it local in quotes, then in 2 other spots. They're not next to each other.
Correct.
Okay. So here's the final question. What is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
The customer, right? I learned this from Lance Crosby at StackPath. In every conference room, we had a chair, and it said the customer chair, and you were not allowed to sit in it, right? And the reason that was there is so every single meeting you would have the customer there in that chair. So it reminds the team to always be thinking about the customer. So to me, the most important thing to always take with you is the customer. Whenever we do something, it's, how does this affect our customer? What is the customer result, right? And that's where things like we're changing the game on how we monitor our nodes, right? And I had this idea. I want to do a blog post about putting the managed WordPress and going in depth of what we do and what we're monitoring. Like right now, I could tell you which node on our platform has the highest CPU usage, and I could tell you how many MySQL requests we're doing per second across our entire platform with this new monitoring system. So, I think but what does that mean for the customer? Less failures, less outages, more predictions on failures, and ability to be more proactive, right? So never leave home without the customer.
I love that. So Ben, people can find you at rocket.net, a great domain name. I have to say, it's like to the point, great logo. And then where do you hang out the most? Where online? Where can people find you the most?
I've been on X lately. I've just been kind of.
You had to think about the name.
Yeah, I did. I was like, I almost said Twitter again. I'm like, no, it's 2024. Time to move on. I like X because there's a lot of creators on there in the sense of agencies and freelancers, and I kind of like keeping up with like Cloudflare and some other vendors. But I don't do too much social media. I'm on LinkedIn here and there. It's hard to weed out some of the spam.
You're on PostStats a lot.
PostStats, yes. So I would say the number one place that I pay attention to community-wise, definitely PostStats. I'm always around in there. And then, of course, my email, ben@rocket.net. I'm always available, and it's always open.
Yes, it's scary. He's always available. He's like, Ben, what did I do? I blew something up. He's like, there's a space there. I'm like, So Ben, this has been great. I'll let you run because I know you have to go be a busy man and do some more stuff. But thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you, Seth. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you for your business, and looking forward to continued success together and an awesome 2024.
Absolutely. Amen. And we'll see everyone next time. That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please review us in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps other podcast listeners find our show. If you're looking for other podcasts in the marketing space, look no further than the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.